Hello there.
Beep, 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 beep.
Come here, little Steve. Don't be afraid.
Do, 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 do.
And if you couldn't tell, Steve portraying R2-D2, and I am
thought it was
Colby
spot on.
Kenobi.
Colby Wan Kenobi.
That's right. Welcome to our third episode of the Screen Chronicles.
Amen. What are we talking about today, Colby? Oh,
Well,
Colby Wan Kenobi.
Today, we are talking about the original Star Wars trilogy.
What?
Yes.
What are those?
They defined a generation, Steve.
Wow.
They defined a generation, and we were not in it. But
We weren't.
still love them.
I was -10 when episode 6, Return of the Jedi, came out. -10.
I must have been like -20.
You're. So, if you listened to us last episode, which if you haven't, you really should.
Mm-hmm.
So go back and listen to that. If
You will
not, that's okay.
listen to
I
it.
still love you. But before we get too far into it, there are 2 corrections that I need to make from our last episode.
Okay.
The one correction is when I was listening to our old one, there was one part where we were talking about how Mace Windu, when he was fighting Palpatine, and I think you said either Mace Windu lost or Palpatine or he won or something, and I said, did he? And then I
Right.
think you interpreted as Mace Windu faked losing or faked winning or something.
No.
Oh, no. Okay. So I was trying to say Palpatine.
Yeah. No, that's
Okay,
what I
so-
thought.
So you didn't get that? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then we got that cleared up. Our other big mistake is, I'm definitely in hot water for not doing this, but I'm also going to push some of the blame on you, is we did not invite Alexander Draymond, Uhtred, son of
Ooh.
Uhtred, onto our
Ooh.
podcast episode. So we're really sorry, Alexander. and we really
Alexander.
hope you forgive
Oh my
us.
god. Oh my god.
I hope we can
Let's-
still hang
Let's
out.
not forget that. Yeah. Oh man, he must be so upset right now.
He's probably really is. He's probably getting to
Let's
this
hope he
one.
doesn't go. Let's hope he doesn't go all Uhtred on us.
Oh my gosh, I really hope not, or we are screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
So like
Sorry.
you said, though, we're talking about the original trilogy. And if you are confused on what trilogy is what trilogy, again, I'd go back to our first episode, and we really go into that. The original trilogy for Star Wars is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And again, those were all released before any other Star Wars. A New Hope was released May 25th, 1977. Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, May 21st, 1980. And Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, was May 25th, 1983. So those were the first ones, even though they're 4, 5, and 6. And that's because George Lucas went back and made some prequels. And now there's sequels. So there's 3 sets of trilogies.
And
And
actually, the third movie of the sequel, Episode 9, comes out today. People are seeing it right now. Kind of pains me that we're not there right now, but we're here doing a podcast for people, so that's more important to us. Kind of. Yeah.
So I've seen some reviews, though, for this, Colby, and I'm a little worried.
Yes,
about this
I
new
too
one?
have been looking at the reviews, but here's the thing about the reviews. Other than the Cats reviews that also came out, where they were all horrible, the Star Wars reviews, I have seen some good ones. I have seen some that are like, this is the best in the saga. It's the most satisfying ending, but I've seen the exact opposite. The most common I've seen is that people say it was enjoyable yet very convoluted.
That's the people who do complain about this one. That's what I've heard. It's overstuffed.
I've heard a lot like if it was a 4-hour movie, it would have been better.
That's what I heard. Is it should have been a 4-hour movie, cut down.
Oh, we don't know yet. We can't weigh in yet. We haven't seen it.
We can't weigh in, and
But
we
we're
don't want to be
nervous.
those fanboys that say how it is before we see it. Like
No.
those people how we talked about for the Joker, the movie Joker. So we won't do that, but I am a little worried
because we were let down for episode 8.
We were let down for 8.
And I've never been more excited for a movie. Well, maybe Endgame, but I don't know, because of all the things J.J. Abrams left us with episode 7, and we'll get into this when we talk about the sequels more. He left so many cliffhangers that we thought were going to be answered in episode 8, and they were just all brushed under the rug, or just completely avoided, like all of them. And it's a lot of other things wrong with 8, the flow of the movie, what they do with, in my opinion, with Luke Skywalker, I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, spoilers starting now. For anybody that has not seen these movies yet, you might not want to listen from this point on.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's give a brief non-spoiler talk then, what we thought about episode 4, 5, and 6. How do you feel about Star Wars?
Oh, they're the classics. They are... they lay the foundation for everything that we love, and I do love those movies. They are obviously were made a long time ago. I think episode 4, you said it came out in 1977.
Yes.
Right. And it, for its time, I just try to put myself in the shoes for seeing it for its time, and like what the
special effects
were like, the special effects. I think it would have been a lot more mind-blowing. And we actually do see like the recreations most of the time.
Yeah.
We watch the movie they've actually added a lot of stuff back into the movie and re-released it several times.
Yes. Several times.
But I still love them. It's awesome. I honestly got to say episode 4 is probably one of my, it's the original Star Wars, but it's compared to the other movies, it's a little bit lower on the list for me. But episodes 5 and 6 are still up near the top out of all the Star Wars movies for me.
I would agree with that. Watching episode 4, the original Star Wars A New Hope, last night, I was a little bored at different parts. It was still a good movie, and seeing the characters get together for the first time is very iconic. I love it. But it can be a little boring at parts. But 5 and 6 are probably the most definitive, or at least 2 of the most definitive Star Wars movies for me. Probably episode 3 and a lot of 2 are what define Star Wars for me.
Because those came out when we were kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
I grew up watching these though, before I saw
me too.
The prequels.
Yeah, but I think those ones were more with the time, so it was a little bit easier for us to relate to, and it was more like the other movies that were coming out at the times. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's definitely differences between these 2 trilogies. A lot of people prefer this trilogy over the prequels. I love them both. I think they're both essential if you're a Star Wars fan. And what about you? Do you have a favorite trilogy out of these 2 that we're talking about?
I think the prequels get me most excited, but I think that goes back to them when they came out, because they came out when I was a kid.
Yeah, like we said in the last episode, we both grew up with those.
Grew up with them, so I have to say those, but it's closely followed by the original, obviously.
The original, story. That's what I still love that before I saw the first prequels. And I ended up loving the prequels more after I saw them than the originals when I was a kid, because there's more action and there's more lightsaber fights and things like that. But the original and the effects were better too. When you're a kid too, that matters, I think, because you can tell once you've seen other movies that have better effects, and then you look at Star Wars when it's pretty apparent that they're on something that isn't a spaceship because they're rocking around, as they're flying, or other things like that. But and the fights, weren't as good. But when I watched them, I remember re-watching them, the original trilogy. I can't remember when, but I hadn't been watching them for a while because I thought they were kind of boring. Then I re-watched them, and I got to episode 5. Empire Strikes Back,
Which I think is probably most commonly regarded as people's favorites.
Yes, I think
from what I hear, from what I hear.
I think from this original trilogy as a whole movie, Episode 5 is my favorite. But again, when I was younger, it was a more boring one for me because Luke isn't a good fighter in it when he's fighting Vader. I really like good fights, and the whole movie, you know, it doesn't revolve around Jedi and lightsabers. But I remember when I rewatched it, it was many years ago. But after all the prequels came out, and I just remember just being like mesmerized when I was watching it, especially when Luke is fighting Vader, and then they go down into the like this walkway, and then all of a sudden Vader's like popping out and starts swinging at him. Oh man! I mean, I was awesome. Like, this is amazing. And even though it's not as flashy as Anakin versus Dooku or Anakin versus Obi-Wan, it was still a very powerful fight.
It was, yeah,
to watch. And then that's when I kind of got re-hooked into them. I can't remember, but it was probably, you know, just a couple years after Revenge of the Sith came out. So,
yeah,
you know, 2007 or so when I rewatched them, because like I said, I'd only been watching the prequels, but
right.
And then that's when I fell in love with them again. And I could see why so many people were so devoted to them.
Oh yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being devoted to both of them.
No, you know, I don't think
I feel like there is in the Star Wars fandom a little bit of a divide sometimes with people.
I think most people in general, you know, want to identify as one thing or another. They want to be liberal or conservative. They want to be a big car driver or a little car driver. They want to be environmentally conscious or not. They're very, I guess, you know, tribal in thinking. So I think that's why sometimes the Star Wars movies do it. But I think we should all just appreciate all the Star Wars because they're all
Episode
amazing.
8. No, if you like Episode 8, good for you.
We'll see about 9. We'll see about 9. I don't trust anyone who likes 8. I just don't. I don't trust anyone who likes.
No, I do know some people who liked it, and I see the reason why they like it, and I disagree, but it really, and I really wanted to like it.
Yes, exactly. You wanted to.
I gave it a chance, and again,
I was more nervous for 7.
I'll tell you what. When I saw Episode 8 again, I liked it more than I did the first time.
Are you satisfied though?
No, but I think it was because I'd already been disappointed, so I knew not to.
You couldn't get any happier.
I know.
I
just felt like when I watched that movie, I was waiting. We'll talk about this more when we do the sequels, but I was just waiting, and it's like, okay, it's gonna start getting good now. It's gonna start getting good now. Gonna get good now, and it almost did. And then they even ruined the best part, which we'll talk about when we do the sequel.
You know, again, what we mentioned in the last episode, it's really hard to talk about one trilogy without referencing the others because they're all it's an intertwined saga. You know,
it's a Skywalker story.
It's a continuing story. So it's really hard to not talk about the other ones. One of the reasons, though, that I get mad or am a little worried about the sequel trilogy, every episode that comes out, I worried a little bit, except before 8 was coming out. I was like, they killed 7. I'm ready for 8, you know. But the reason why then I kind of hated that one, that I won't go too far into, is that Episode 6, for me, even though it's not my favorite Star Wars, has the best ending. And I think it just wraps it all together. And then when the new trilogy kind of craps on that happy, awesome ending, it really just makes you feel like, why do we have to do this?
Yeah.
You know? And
you just wanted the story to end on a high note like it did in Episode 6.
Yeah. And I really
don't get me wrong, they even did that a little bit in Episode 7. You know, they showed like how Han and Leia weren't together anymore, and you know, obviously they had something go wrong with their son. We didn't know what happened to Luke yet, but we didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was.
Yeah, I mean, the movie ended with him in nice Jedi robes.
Episode 7 was still great.
Yeah, it was still great.
But yeah. Well, so anyway,
talk about that later.
We'll get to there. We have a lot to talk about with the sequels, and hopefully we don't have hopefully we don't have too much more to talk about after we see episode 9. We're gonna wait to see episode 9 before we dive into those. But after reading those reviews, very mixed. I don't know if I've seen this many mixed reviews. So I will say this before we jump into the original trilogy.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that when the original reviews of Last Jedi came out, they were like 92% or something. Remember?
Yes. Yeah, they were all phenomenal.
They were all, and again, these are critic scores, and critic scores can be so much different than audience scores. So it's
scores
not,
almost mean nothing sometimes.
Sometimes they mean nothing because they're looking at different things, and I think the typical audience wants. So we'll see. Now I think it's at 56% right now is the initial critic score.
Oh boy,
brutal. Which is not as bad as Cats' 17%.
Oh, my mom wants to see Cats too. So I don't know. But
so
I grew up with these though. I grew up with this trilogy, this original trilogy, and I loved it. I grew up on a small farm too. I wasn't around. I was like 30 minutes from like anyone else.
Precisely? No. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was a moisture farmer. My whole life changed.
Did you go downtown and pick up some power converters with your friends?
Yeah, I wanted to go to Tashi Station. I hate that line.
He does.
Oh, but I want to go to Tashi Station and get some power converters.
It is pretty like childish, bratty line.
Right. I grew up on a little farm, and it was. I always just remember riding out in the bus then back from school and just like looking out in the field and just thinking about driving out on a speeder or something, getting a lightsaber.
Yeah.
I really fantasize about that like all the time.
Yeah.
And Luke did that. He went and did it.
Anytime you look at the sunset, you just pretend that there's another sun.
There's every sun. I would pretend there's two suns, and I would stand there, and I would hire the John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra to just play. Or wait, what theme does he play?
Couldn't pay him to tune up.
All right, let's go. That's probably one of my favorite themes. That theme they play when he is standing watching the two suns set. I think it's called the Force theme, and they play that little tune like anytime someone's like kind of getting the Force, like when Rey grabbed the lightsaber for the first time, or when Luke is in the cave in Episode 5 and he's reaching for the lightsaber.
Some magical stuff's about to go down.
Yeah,
you hear that.
I can't think of the tune right now, but it's probably.
It's not just called the Skywalker theme?
Maybe it is. When I looked it up, it told me it's the Force theme today. So I don't know. Could be.
But interesting thing about when they started filming A New Hope.
Oh yeah?
A few interesting things is that when they started filming, they didn't even have Luke Skywalker's last name yet when they started filming.
When they started filming?
This? Yeah,
I heard some things
he
about
was
George
debating
Lucas.
between. Yeah, so he wasn't
having like different plans.
Yeah, different plans. He wasn't exactly sure what he was going to do. The actors weren't really sure where the movie was going, and he did not have a for sure name for Luke. So one of the original ones was Starkiller, which ends up becoming Starkiller. Well, I mean, they used Starkiller base later on, probably as a nod to that.
Mm-hmm.
But so if you watch the movie, and I paid attention this last time I watched it, they don't say Luke Skywalker. They do in the opening credits, I believe, the opening scroll, but maybe not even. They might not address him in that. But
I didn't notice that.
Watch it. Uncle Owen just says, "Hey, Luke, come here." Or
yeah, I guess everyone just calls him Luke.
Mm-hmm. And then it's not till a little bit later. Might even be after he meets Obi-Wan, where he actually introduces himself as Skywalker, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. I heard they did do some reshoots because another fun fact but this one for Episode 5 is when they started shooting that, Mark Hamill was in this car accident where he broke his nose and some of his, I think somewhere around his ear or something. They were saying, I don't know
Scarring
how
on his face.
Yeah, but then they had to replace his nose with cartilage from his ear, and he had these facial scars. So then that's why they put the Wampa attack in at the beginning of 5. But then this car accident happened before A New Hope was released.
Oh.
So it wasn't, all in the media yet. No one knew who he was yet. He wasn't famous.
Right. So
it wasn't on the news or anything. So everyone was, going to be wondering about his face. So that's why they put in the attack for the Wampa.
It worked out.
Yeah. Because
he's in a war. Why not have a couple scars on your face, right?
Yeah. So just the general setup too for this trilogy, even though this one came first, George Lucas, who was the former owner and the original creator for Star Wars, he directed the first one, but then he just helped write the next two. Two other people directed the next two. Ivan Kirshner directed Episode 5, and Richard McQuand directed Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And Lauren Kasdan helped write the last two that I just mentioned. And then Lai Brackett helped write Empire Strikes Back too. But anyway, in this trilogy starts off with Darth Vader as Darth Vader in the suit, how we talked about in the last episode, how Anakin gets burned in the volcano and becomes Darth Vader with his giant prosthetic legs, and then and then him and the rest of the Empire. It shows them ruling the galaxy, and then Luke and the rebellion going against them, and then eventually beating them and wiping out 2 Death Stars and killing Vader and the Emperor. So
if you haven't seen it, now you don't need to.
So that's a summary of it, and that's pretty much all you needed to know.
Yes. There is so much good in it. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, we hear these little bits throughout. First, we hear Obi-Wan fought in the Clone Wars, and so did Luke's father. And that's such a great thing about the prequels, is we get to go back and see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching some videos earlier, and I got to say, one of my favorite videos for Star Wars to watch is the one, it takes Obi-Wan's first parts when he's meeting Luke, and they go back to Obi-Wan's house with the lightsaber and everything. And basically, I think it's called Obi-Wan PTSD.
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan has like PTSD or something. Yeah.
But it's not like made to be funny. It's kind of made to be like emotional. So it like will show, he'll say something. He'll be like talking about Luke's dad, Anakin Skywalker. Luke doesn't know it's his dad yet. Or no, sorry, Luke doesn't know that Darth Vader's his dad, but he knows.
Yes.
He's hearing these stories for the first time about his dad being this pilot and this Jedi. And he'll say like he was a cunning warrior. Then it shows like a flashback clips of Anakin like fighting Count Dooku and stuff, and a good friend, and I'll like show them laughing or something. And man, that gives me the feels, man.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend watching that video. Some of my favorite videos.
I've seen 2, by the way. There's 2 versions.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few of those. But definitely look those up if you're a fan of the Star Wars. It's just it's really cool how it ties up.
There's one with Yoda.
The movies. Oh yeah? What's that?
Yeah. I don't know. It goes into like scenes from The Last Jedi, but it starts off with when Yoda's in his hut with Luke for the first time, trying to talk about how like he's like his father, he's stubborn, and he'll like go and show when Yoda first met the boy Anakin.
Pretty cool. Okay.
And like how, remember, they didn't want to train Anakin. Yeah. Yoda and Mace Windu didn't want to train Anakin. So again, Yoda's like, second time, like, I don't think
fool me once.
No.
So we trained the one kid, and he killed everybody.
This guy's almost an adult.
He killed all of his classmates.
Yeah.
The fan videos where they combine.
Oh, you sent me a great one today.
Which one are you talking about?
I loved it. It was the Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, Death Star lightsaber duel reimagined.
Oh yeah,
They should actually go back and add that into the movie.
I know that one.
It looks
So-
a lot of fan made stuff looks really fake to me.
Yes,
You know, like it's obviously fan made. This one looked super well done.
it looked.
There's only
very-
one part where I looked, it was like, oh, that's definitely a fake lightsaber right there. But it was like only one part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the video we're talking about, the YouTube name of it is called Star Wars SC38 Reimagined. I think it's like Scene 38. It's on YouTube though, and these guys redid the lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader when they're fighting in A New Hope.
They made it as if it could have been filmed now, you know, like how they make the lightsaber duels awesome now. Because like the first, the lightsaber duel, it's the first lightsaber duel we see in Star Wars if you watch from the first one made. And we mentioned this last episode, but George Lucas originally imagined the lightsabers to be sort of like long swords that they would use in medieval times. So they'd be heavy, you'd have to use two hands. And so the fighting style was pretty a lot slower than we end up seeing in the prequels. And even in 5 and 6, they kind of don't do it as much anymore.
It's just not if you're a fan of lightsaber fights, it really just doesn't do anything for you.
No.
And it's kind of a letdown because, especially after you've seen the prequels, and not just because of the lightsaber fights, but because you've seen the last time Anakin and Obi-Wan fought each other and how powerful and emotional it was, and how intense the fighting was, and how it's just their friendship just came crashing down, and they were taking
in this remake of it, they pick up like right where they left off with like the intensity.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was very, and it would be great if they could somehow get something like that into the movie, because I mean these are just some people at home with their own computers or something, and they did this. There's a few scenes where you can tell Alec Guinness's face is like imposed on like someone else's body. But overall, they did a good job with it, and it looked pretty natural too with how the rest of the movie flowed. But it was very intense. They even had like Vader remembering some of their dialogue from the last fight.
Oh, I like that touch. Yeah,
it was amazing.
Love that. And also, Vader pretty much dominates Obi-Wan in this fight, in this version. He's just Obi-Wan's like just on his heels the whole time,
Exactly.
And it's pretty cool because Darth Vader is definitely going to outmatch him at this point.
At this point, yeah, he definitely would.
Probably, again, I mean, Anakin overall was a better fighter than Obi-Wan, I would argue.
Yes.
Like always.
I would agree with that.
And we mentioned last time the reason Obi-Wan was able to win, one, Anakin was a little bit arrogant, a little bit emotional. He thought he could, he thought the high ground didn't matter, but the high ground is everything, as we know. But and we also said Obi-Wan trained Anakin, so he knows all his moves.
Yeah.
But
he had the upper hand when he was fighting him compared to Anakin fighting, say, Count Dooku, who would wipe the floor with Obi-Wan, because he has seen Anakin fight. Even though he hasn't had to fight him, he's trained him. Even though Anakin's beaten people that have beaten Obi-Wan, it's still, it's like football any given Sunday, man. No,
and I would be willing to argue. I'd be willing to argue that Darth Vader's probably had a lot more training when he faces Obi-Wan again, things Obi-Wan wouldn't expect. You know what I mean?
Oh yes.
Vader throwing the lightsaber he does in that remake is so cool.
Vader at this point has been hunting down other Jedi. He's been fighting this war. We just saw him. If you watch Rogue One, he just wipes out a hallway. Obi-Wan hasn't been, knocking down any droids or anything recently. So
Obi-Wan hasn't been doing much. Well, we might be wrong, because they're coming out with that Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Yeah, well, I might be wrong, and he's been kicking butt, and then it won't make any sense then why he was so bad. But yeah, it's definitely a letdown. So it would be. I would like it if they would.
Again, He wasn't that bad in the original fighting Darth Vader, but he obviously lets
Darth
Vader kill him. Vader probably would have killed him anyway.
Oh yeah, he still would have won.
But in that remake they do, I mean, Obi-Wan is like getting his
Obi-Wan is not gonna win in that one.
He's not gonna win that fight.
And I like that. And I would like to have
you know what part I loved? So basically, whenever Vader uses the Force against Obi-Wan in that fight, Obi-Wan goes flying into a wall, and Obi-Wan tries to use the Force against Vader, and Vader just kind of like slides back a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And then he like slowly raises his head, and he's about to come to the finals.
Helmet.
Oh yeah.
It was sweet. It was
so sweet. It was so sweet. Just who did that video?
I forget. I have the link though here.
Whoever did it, and props to you guys, because
props to you guys for sure. I'll put the link in our description or something for the video. I definitely we'll probably talk about a ton of videos that I won't remember to put in, but I have a few of the good ones put up, so then we can add those in. Yeah. Or just listen to us and just type in things YouTube. Be like Obi-Wan does this.
You can pause this. We don't mind. We'll wait.
No, we'll pause. We'll
wait.
We'll be right here when you get back.
That's right.
So, would you like though to have this scene actually added into the official movie then?
If you had asked me if I would want a remake scene prior to me watching that video of a fight, I would say no. But after watching that video, yeah. That's how well done it was. Yes. That's how well done it was.
I would at least like to have a couple elements added in, even if they would like cut back and forth to Alec Guinness.
They did a little bit, but yeah.
And they did a little bit. But even if they don't,
they should probably just leave it how it is now. But I'm just saying that video is that good. I would consider them putting that.
I would definitely consider it. A lot of people who are diehard original trilogy fans really hate how they have remade these movies a few times, because the movies I said were released in late 70s, early 80s, but then again when they were released closer to when the prequels were first getting released, the first one in 1999, George Lucas, who owned and created Star Wars, he owned and created all of Star Wars up until I think 2015 or 2014, something like that, when Disney bought him out. But anyway, he owned all of Star Wars, and so he decided to remake some scenes in the original trilogy so that they would have better effects, so that they would be more consistent with each other, like the hologram scene in The Empire Strikes Back. The Emperor there, he replaces with the Emperor from 6, and instead of that the Emperor too. I saw this. I don't know how true it is, but in the video description of the comparison scenes for that scene, the YouTube video said that the original Emperor from the original release was this woman doing the part with a monkey mask or something superimposed. And I was like, what? So, I mean, I'm really glad that they redid that and put Ian McDiarmid in. And then they actually, so they did that. They put like Jabba the Hutt into episode 4. They because before they had shot a scene with Jabba the Hutt being a human being, and they cut that because they didn't know what Jabba was going to be in the next movie or something. And then so George Lucas went back in and added this scene with Han Solo talking Jabba the Hutt as the computer CGI version of Jabba the Hutt, the giant slug. And then I can't forget what else he added in that version. But then again, when he re-released Star Wars after the prequels were made, he added even more changes. And now the phone call scene in Empire Strikes Back with the Emperor was the same version of Ian McDiarmid from episode 3. Right. And what else did he do? He put Hayden Christensen in at the end of Return of the Jedi as the Force Ghost.
I think they just add like creatures here and there and stuff too.
Yeah, they added some
in the background.
creatures in the background. One time when Luke and Obi-Wan are pulling up to Mos Eisley, there's just like this big creature just walks in the way, and I'm just like, we didn't need
CGI'd in there.
Yeah, just CGI. But there's a bunch of like CGI scenes then, and then when they got re-released on Blu-ray a few years after that, he apparently added this one scene in with Darth Vader. I just saw it today because I was watching on Disney Plus. I own them on DVD, so this scene wasn't in the ones I have, where Darth Vader, when he decides to help his son Luke and betray the Emperor, pick him up and throw him down, he goes, "No!" And I'm like, what? I did not like that. I liked all the other changes. I did not like that.
I don't know if I loved putting Hayden Christensen in at the end. I thought it was kind of cool, but it was at the same time, it's kind of weird.
The original actor that they had revealed to be in the suit, and at the end of Return of the Jedi, they had him as the Force Ghost in the original version.
Right.
And he has hair though. He's this guy with chubby. He's in Jedi robes. And I remember when I was a kid and I would see that scene, I had to ask. I was like, "Who is that guy?"
That's a good point.
Because like Luke has never seen him like that, but Luke has also never seen him as Hayden Christensen. So it's nothing really that they.
What would be weirder? What would be weirder?
There's a how it should have
seen the prequels. Yeah, for kids who've seen the prequels, they're like, "Oh my God, that's Anakin!" You know.
Yeah.
If you look at it from that point of view, it's a good point.
From a certain point of view.
Yeah.
But there's actually a how it should have ended video that
those videos. Love those videos.
They did one for Return of the Jedi, and they kind of comment on that. They have the first guy, he's there, and then he disappears, and then it's Hayden Christensen. And then Luke says something like, "I don't know who either you are." And then it's Darth Vader, just like his torso because his legs are chopped off and his arms are chopped off, just his burnt like naked half corpse standing there. And he's like, "It's me." And he's like, "That's how I know you." But I had no idea at least I knew who Hayden Christensen was when I watched those after seeing the prequels, but I had no idea. I was like, that guy doesn't look like Darth Vader either. You know what I mean?
No. The one that you showed me, that you sent me a video of, was they went back and the dancing scene with the Ewoks. They changed the music from the original music.
Oh yeah, and they added in scenes
and they added
other
in
planets,
the scenes of the other planets celebrating. I love that edit. One, because the original music sucked. Two, because it's cool to see like everyone celebrating. Like this was like throughout the universe. This was huge news.
I think the original scene where they're all just partying on Endor. I mean, it's happy and nice and stuff, but they just brought down the freaking Galaxy Empire. Like, I thought it was nice that they just did some quick shots of some other planets we knew from the prequels and even the original trilogy, like Cloud City. They just show them all celebrating. On Coruscant, they're like holding a Stormtrooper body, like passing it around and bringing down the Palpatine statue.
Yeah.
And it's
show
like
Naboo and all the Gungans and we set free!
We set free! I like that.
Yeah.
You know, George Lucas was just like, screw you to anyone that was anti-Gungan, anti-Jar Jar. He's like, now the original trilogy has a Jar Jar scene.
That's awesome. But
no,
Jar Jar's probably on Coruscant, dude. By the way.
Sorry. Yeah, he's probably in the Sith temple or something.
He probably got promoted to, he's probably in the Sith temple meditating or something. Either that or the Emperor made him Chancellor of
He has his own planet now. He has like 30 wives.
Oh yeah, Jar Jar.
That's what Jar Jar's doing now.
Talk about character development. Woo.
We used to love the Empire.
Oh my god! I hope Jar Jar shows up in Episode 9. Great.
We can only hope. We can only hope. If he does, it might save the movie for me. Even if I'm just like, oh, I can't believe they killed off Lando. Oh, I can't believe they killed off Chewie. And then all of a sudden, Jar Jar.
We don't know that, by the way. Those aren't spoilers.
We don't know that. We don't know these things. Yes. It's just a pattern. Is that they seem to want to kill off people we love.
Yeah.
So I'm a little afraid. But that's what I like. Like you said, this ending is perfect. And that the music's great. John Williams does a better job with this ending. And you see all the planets. And it's just everyone's alive. They're together. And everyone sometimes complains about really happy endings like at the end of Lord of the Rings or this movie. But it's escapism. I want to be happy. Like, yeah, I know the real world isn't always perfect. You know what I mean? But I that's why I want to see this movie, where everyone is still friends and
overcoming all the odds. Yeah,
you beat the odds. It's motivating.
Yeah,
it's just perfect. There's also some videos I sent you.
Yes, I was just gonna
where
say this.
John Williams, they take out the John Williams music.
Yeah, so we talked about last episode how different movies would be without the music, how important music really is to movies, and for some people they might not think about it.
Yes.
But yeah, they took out the music for
they took out John Williams.
Which scenes they did? They did the end of A New Hope in the when they're getting their awards. And it's just so awkward because they have this long walk down the aisle and there's just all these people standing there and you just hear every now and then a cough. I assume those are added in after the fact, right? And
they must have had to silence everything and then just
add in like just ambient noise. Like it just sounds like you hear everything. You hear people cough. You just hear like their footsteps going down. And then Chewie. I died when I saw this. Chewie just turns and it's like, ah!
Ah! Like they don't even try to do a Wookiee noise. It's just some weird scream.
Just a straight up high pitched human scream.
It's perfect. It's
so funny. But anyway, how awkward that would be in real life. Like imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wonder is when they were actually filmed like that.
Yeah.
Because John Williams, they put the music in. You're right there.
Yeah, no, this light's going nuts.
All right.
I think I know why.
It's probably like a ghost coming for you or something.
Let me try something real quick. I ain't afraid of no ghost. It didn't work. I don't know what's going on with my light tonight.
I don't know. It's probably a ghost. Maybe a Force ghost.
Ooh.
Probably the ghost of Hayden Christensen.
Ew. I'm just kidding.
Oh, my.
I want the original. I want the original Darth Vader.
I want that original guy. That no one knows his name.
No. But those were, and then what was the other video with they took out the music?
The Endor celebration.
The Endor celebration. That's right. It just and then nobody's making any sounds. Like whack on those Stormtrooper helmets, and it's just like
when the Ewoks are doing their bad musical performance.
Yeah.
They don't even try and make them sound any better.
Sounds like.
It sounds like it probably like how it would have really sounded. It's just dunk 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 dunk, dink dink dink. It's like so there's no rhythm or anything.
And they're all just hugging each other, and you just hear the pats on the backs, but nobody's saying anything. They're just.
No one's talking.
That's how they probably filmed it, right? Like nobody's talking.
And there is one scene where like one of the pilots.
Yeah, he's like,
hey! The only one that vocalized, and he's just like, yeah. Oh, and then when they cut over to the Force Ghost when Luke's looking at the Force Ghost, and it's just like a quiet, like creepy horror music sound.
Yes. Yeah.
You like hear a wolf howl, and then like Leia comes over. And she's like, "Hey, Luke," or she doesn't say anything, but she's like there, and then it's back to being quiet. Then they cut back to the ghost, and it's this creepy ambient noise and wolf howling, and it just sounds like they're like these haunting ghosts that he's like hallucinating from or something.
Oh man, That'd be terrifying.
I'll link those too. It's Star Wars minus Williams or something like that.
So many good Star Wars videos and fan-made things all over the place.
It's like you said, I think in our Joker episode, you know something's good when they can make some good memes out of it.
Oh yeah.
You know if they're making some good funny videos, it's a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's got to be, because for that many people to get those references, man, a lot of people have had to go see those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I said this last time, but the prequels, there's something called prequel memes.
Oh yeah.
Well, I found it on Reddit, but I think they're on more than Reddit. You know prequel memes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm being
but it's a page, right? Oh, okay, yeah. it's a page. And they have the best memes on Earth.
The prequel memes, yeah.
I think so. I think they're better than the rest of the memes.
I think you can meme the original trilogy too. Just people.
Oh, I think there is an original trilogy meme page too, but I think prequel memes gets all the hype.
I only see really prequel memes. Or if I do see like a sequel meme, it's mixed in or it's part of like a prequel meme or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what got a lot of people to like the prequels who didn't like the prequels to kind of like them in, retrospective, was the memes. And now you watch it and you have all these connections to the lines and stuff.
I do want George Lucas to do one more thing.
Yes.
I want him to go back and make a couple of remakes for the prequels. And anytime a Rey shield pops up in the prequels, I want them to put Rey's face. Like in the shield somewhere. That was fantastic.
Rey shields.
Rey's face. What do you think Rey's last name is?
Probably
Smith.
Probably Smith or Miller.
Yeah.
Martha. I don't know.
Not Skywalker.
I
feel like that's predictable.
At this point, it just wouldn't make sense. I wanted it to be something like that. Again, we'll go into this. Let's
not talk about that now.
Let's not get depressed yet. Yeah. We're in the good movies.
Oh man, I hope it's awesome.
Which one of these is your favorite one from this trilogy?
Probably 5.
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, man.
What makes it your favorite?
There's no Ewoks.
I hate the Ewoks.
No,
hate them.
It's just got like first of all, great lightsaber duel.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's raw, and it's just, you find out who Luke is, who Darth Vader is, and I don't know, I just like everything about it. I like the Hoth scene opening it up.
Yeah, great battle at the beginning.
Yeah,
that still pretty holds up. I mean, you can kind of tell that some of the walkers are like stop motion.
Mm-hmm.
That the old like how they would do for like the clay movies that stop motion.
Right.
But it still looks pretty good.
Pretty good. And then, like I said earlier, I try, like when I watch these movies, to go back in time and think of how cool these must have looked when they came out. And then, we've been so spoiled with amazing effects that look super real.
Mm-hmm.
But like those like the original lightsaber effect and things like that must have looked so cool. The metal Millennium Falcon flying around must have looked so cool.
Well, that's what. Yeah, it's. I did. I don't know if you watched that one video I sent where these visual effects artists, they kind of reviewed how the effects were done in the original trilogy, and it's really cool. And it was apparently like so innovative for how they did it, how they did it at the time.
They're pretty much inventing. They weren't using stuff that was already made. They had to invent technology to film those movies. It's awesome. Yeah.
I think it was ILM, which was like the only good visual effects company, and I think that it kind of developed from George Lucas. I'm pretty sure he owned them too after that. So I mean, George Lucas made Star Wars and then owned ILM. He's probably just been rolling in money. But I would agree. That's probably my favorite movie too, for similar reasons. It was a good fight.
And we meet Yoda.
We meet Yoda.
He's this little crazy dude.
The Yoda training Luke scenes are just perfect. I mean, just how he tells the Force, how he explains it, and Luke's training with all that, I thought
It was
is
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah.
And he says so many. The whole movie has so many quotable lines in it. I think this one is the most quotable movie. If you, in general, like Han Solo, I know, to Leia when she says, "I love you."
I love you. I know.
I know.
That's so Han Solo.
It was very. He didn't say it like how he did. He said it in a really cool, romantic way that would make the girl love you more. If I did it, I'd just be in trouble. Yeah. and he says so many things though. It's like I remember when him and Leia are running around they're in that the sock puppet in the asteroid, you know. when he's when they're trying to get out and he's like, I don't have time to discuss this with a committee.
They almost got eaten by a sock puppet.
It's just so obviously a hand when they're flying out of it. Like when it zooms out and you see them flying away, it's like just some guy with his hand. Come here. Come here. You know, with his hand.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah. So when Han Solo has so many quotable lines in general, but in that movie he just keeps dropping them. And
Han Solo's the man.
And then same with Yoda too. Probably all of my I was trying to think about all my favorite Star Wars quotes, and I'm pretty sure
or do not. There is no try.
I'm pretty sure they all come from Yoda. All of my
favorite Yoda quote. My favorite Yoda quote comes from Episode 6.
What's that?
When 900 years old you reach, look as good you will not.
Yeah, my favorite line is, "Go away." When he's beating R2 with a stick.
Yes.
Let go. That's my favorite line.
Another great line.
Those are the lines I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know, yeah. Go away. It's the best Star Wars line.
Give it back.
Give it back. He starts whacking on R2 with a stick.
This Jedi master fighting a robot over a candy bar.
And then you think about what he did to Count Dooku when he first meets Count Dooku and he's jumping around and he's just taking a stick, whacking R2 with it and losing.
A legendary warrior. Now he's fighting R2.
Another great quote on a serious note is when Luke's like, I'm looking for a great warrior named Yoda. And he's like, wars do not make one great.
Yes.
Like, wow, that's a cool line. That's a cool line.
Luke says, I don't believe it, when after Yoda lifts up the X-Wing. And he's like, that is why you failed.
Yes.
So freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What people think it's really effects that hold Star Wars together still today. It's all the character, story. It's all that to me.
Yeah, to me too. Yeah. It's moments like that. It's moments when Yoda's training Luke on Dagobah. By the way, you're never going to catch me going to Dagobah. Too many snakes. Apparently, there's supposed to be snake dragons, by the way, but I ain't going there.
Like fire-breathing dragons, or
no, I don't know. Weird space creatures. But I'm not going to that planet. Those are my no snakes.
What would you see if you went into the cave? Do you think? What would you see? The cave where Luke goes into, and another great scene.
Probably The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi just standing there.
Just the whole movie. I'd walk in there and it'd be a movie theater.
Just a seat.
And I'd be like, oh, great. Star Wars.
Oh, it's a trap.
It's a trap. It's a trap. Another great Star Wars quote.
Another great Star Wars quote.
Which is also said more times than you'd think. And here's another great Star Wars quote that's said in almost every movie. I think in every Star Wars saga movie.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yep, that's in every one.
I think BB-8 says it in one of the new ones. Really, I don't think it's actually said by a human. I think J.J. Abrams in Episode 7, I believe, said BB-8 says it.
Oh, No human says it in that one. I thought they did.
I remember it's one of them. I'm pretty sure BB-8 does.
I'll have to go back and watch.
Yeah, well, we're going to. I think I'm
the
watching it
sequels
tomorrow. I'm watching the sequels with my girlfriend over the next couple days before I go see an episode 9 Sunday. Man, I can't go on Instagram because
I know you can't go onto Instagram.
I don't know if I've seen the Star Wars movie this late after it's come out.
No, I've normally caught them pretty early.
Opening night or like the second night?
Yeah, the second day.
Second day, usually. Yeah, I'll try to go.
Usually, I think the last one, I saw was a Saturday. It's so annoying that it's around this time of year is what it's really tricking me up, because the reason I'm not going to this weekend is we're going to my girlfriend's mom's house, and so can't then. So, and if it was back in May, like how I've said it, I
could sneak out. Sneak out and catch the 11 o'clock show.
Where are you going? Lunch.
You're sneaking down the stairs and like you're in your sweatpants and your black hoodie, and all of a sudden Taylor just spins around in a spinny chair. Going somewhere, Steve?
Going somewhere?
Going to see Star Wars?
No.
Yeah, no, but I'm not going to Dagobah. And if I walked into that cave, I don't know what I'd do. What would you see, Steve?
Probably Jar Jar Binks, just naked and just full frontal nude, and he's like, "What's up?" Meets Jar Jar Binks, and that would probably be the.
Yeah, because I think the cave is supposed to show like a reflection of you.
Yep. So it'd be like my inner self.
No.
Who I'm afraid of becoming, Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
I write that like on any what's my weakness any time I have an interview is my fear of becoming Jar Jar Binks. That's what I normally write or tell them or act out for or act out.
Yeah. The drunken warrior.
This is how this is my biggest weakness, is acting like this periodically and just turning suddenly with my ears flopping around, saying Misa a lot, knocking things over in the office.
It just kicks in every now and then.
You really can't help it. It's like a tick, You're a Jar Jar tick. You really can't help it. but on
the real hero.
Say what?
I was just going to bring up the real hero of the original trilogies.
Oh yes, Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, he's behind the scenes just pulling the strings, but the real hero is R2-D2.
Throughout all the movies,
yeah,
even the new ones, arguably, he is the hero because he's got the Skywalker map.
True. Like, imagine if R2-D2 just got shot or something and blew up. Nothing. It's no call for help gets to Obi-Wan Kenobi. No Death Star plans get to the Rebel base.
That's
no
lightsaber
gets shot up to Luke Skywalker while he's going off the diving board into the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, if C-3PO had to do that, he'd be like, "Ah!" and just.
Dude, C-3PO would not have gone there.
It wouldn't have made it to him if C-3PO had to check it out.
Never would have gotten that escape pod.
Mm-mm. I'm really surprised though that Luke was able to catch it all and was not distracted by Leia in her outfit in that movie. I don't know how anyone did anything in that scene. I would have been so distracted.
Yeah.
I mean,
wait, what did happen in those scenes?
in the Leia was there and
Leia was there.
I think she ended up choking out this fat guy and
she did that. I saw her shoot a gun.
Yeah, she shot a gun.
She went swinging with Luke.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's one thing that they did change from the the original to like the first remake of it, the re-release or whatever you want to call, is when they swing off, Leia kisses him for luck or something again, like how she did in the first one. But I think they cut it out because in that movie you find out she's his sister, and so far he couldn't have been kissed by her in every single movie.
Right, you're right. Can we talk about Leia's a little bit of no, the word I'm looking for here. Help me out, Steve. Help me out. No, well, a little bit more than that. She's just hopping back between Han and Luke. Just the, you know what I mean?
I think she just likes to use Luke in Empire Strikes Back to tease Han Solo. Because I'm pretty sure she likes Han Solo, but she just doesn't like how confident he is in that she likes him. Yeah. And so she's just like, well, look at this. And then she makes out with her brother. I don't know how many times.
Gotcha.
I've been so jealous when the girl I was interested in just started making out with her brother. And I was like, I was like,
girlfriend doesn't have any brothers, so.
Well, that's why I started dating Faye. She didn't have any brothers to do that to me too.
I know. It's just happened too many times in the past.
And I had to scroll through and make sure she had no male cousins. Because I was like, if it's not brother, it's cousin they'll try and get you with. If I've learned one thing from Star Wars, it's that the girl you like will probably try and make you jealous by, either making out with her brother or making you think for a split second that she loves her brother more than you in a romantic way. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of Return of the Jedi, when Han Solo's clearly asking if Leia, who he does not know is Luke's sister, because she just found out this episode is their siblings. He asks her, "Oh, do you love him more, or do you love him or something?" She's like, "Yes," and just so dreamy, "Yes," and he's like, "Oh, okay," just like how any guy would act when he wants to play it cool and not seem like it really hurts that some other guy beat him out. And she's just like, "Oh, that's no, my brother. Oh, yeah. No." And then they kiss, and then later he smiles, and he's probably just in his head thinking, "I've got so much dirt on you now, for after I've seen you kiss your brother a few times."
Well, maybe that's what ended their marriage. No, we don't know if they were married. I guess I don't know.
They were at least together for their devil son, Ben Solo.
Yeah, their evil son, Kylo Ren. But anyway, Leia was definitely in the beginning of Episode 6. I can tell you
definitely, that. And everything after that's kind of fuzzy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Back to the cave though. I was looking it up, and apparently caves are common for literature to portray like the character going within themselves. Because I never got the cave scene, like when I was watching it until I got like a little bit older, and I'm like, all right, he's like fighting his demons, because then he goes into the cave, and then Yoda's later like, remember your failure at the cave, and it's like, well, he beat the thing, he cut off the head of the Darth Vader Luke. But then that's another reason why when I rewatched it when I was, like, what was it, 2007 or was around that year, and I finally like started like getting the metaphor.
Right.
That was another cool scene.
Oh, it's an awesome scene. By the way, speaking of caves, Floki went into a cave and from Vikings, and he found a cross.
And he just screams in the volcano.
He was looking. Yeah.
I haven't seen any new Vikings. I haven't seen any new Vikings. Have they answered?
No, they're like. No, here's my thing. I think Floki's alive because they keep. The one guy comes back, the one that like betrayed the whole village.
Oh, the guy that seemed like a nice guy and then just
and then he wasn't. So he came savage. Back. He came back, and he was like wearing this hood, and when he came back off the boat, everyone's like, he was in Floki's boat, and everybody was like, Floki, and he like takes the hood off. It's not Floki, and they're all like, where's Floki? That's weird that he would have just wandered off. That's not like Floki. and everybody's onto this guy. And last episode, the one that came out yesterday, Bjorn says, "You better hope Floki doesn't come back," or something. No, yeah, or no, he says, "You better hope Floki does come back." So I know you're not lying to me. So that makes me think that Floki might come back. So anyway, back to Star Wars. Vikings, we will get to Vikings.
Oh yeah, Vikings for sure.
We like Vikings. Ragnar Lothbrok, he's our dude.
Mm-hmm. But what were we? We were talking about Star Wars. I love Star
Leia
Wars.
in the beginning of in Jabba's palace.
Oh yeah. And then I think that's the end of the movie. Then I don't remember.
I think that's how it ended. I'm really not sure after that.
But then after that, for I have noticed after rewatching it a few times, I had to fast forward through that scene. But after that, Boba Fett, this really hyped up character, gets taken out
so
like
easily.
Jump!
An accident.
And someone's like, "Where's Boba Fett?" And kills him. And
by accidentally hitting his jetpack.
He's half blind at this point.
Goes right into the backboard and then into the Sarlacc pit, right through the hoop. Right off the backboard.
Ding, 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 ding. 100 points for killing. I don't think he's a Mandalorian, for that. I don't think a Mandalorian would go down that way.
I don't think so either. He did have a pretty cool head nod at Leia after she threatened to blow the place up with a thermal detonator. He was like, "That's pretty cool. Respect."
Pretty cool. Respect with the kamikaze,
Yeah.
But that's what I think. Everyone loves Boba Fett, and he looks cool. I'm with everyone else. He looks awesome, and that's where everyone's interest in, the Mandalorian culture came from, is from him. And then this show is probably from, bounty hunters looking super sweet in The Mandalorian. But Boba Fett himself, I'm probably going to tick off some diehard fans. He's completely overrated. He got he got Han after he was already frozen into a hand sickle, and then that's pretty much the only thing he's done. He kind of tied up Luke for a second, and then Luke was like, "Nah," and then knocks him down, and then doesn't even worry about him. Luke doesn't even worry about killing Boba Fett. He's like, "I'll go over there and fight those other guys," and then Han and just kills him accidentally. Where?
I know. And that reminds me, can we just take a moment of silence for the Rancor?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Because I feel bad for that guy who was...
You do feel bad for that guy.
The guy starts sobbing. He's just he must have been, I don't know, the owner or something, and just...
Probably raised it since it was a 325-pound baby Rancor. Just a fresh, little, tiny 325 baby Rancor, 325-pound baby Rancor. Yeah. It's probably had a cute name like Fuzzy, something ironic.
Yes.
Or Toothless or something.
That guy was so sad. That guy was so sad. And his friend, they just forget about Luke there for a second. Yeah. They just start comforting each other.
And Luke's just like, he feels bad. He's a Jedi. He has the Jedi training, but he just savagely killed this beast.
Yeah.
And made this poor guy sad.
Yes.
That was his pet.
That's awesome.
Oh, another thing too, we talked about last episode that I finally I checked up on because we were both kind of different. We didn't know what the definitive answer was the Stormtroopers, if they were clone troopers. And I looked it up, and on Wikipedia, as in Wookiee, and then Wikipedia, I think you mentioned it yesterday. They mention that clones were used for a while in the Empire, and then that the Empire did opt out of clones because they're all genetically the same, and that could be like a weapon against them, like a biological agent could be used against them. And
That's smart.
Yeah, there was like a Camino Rebellion or something where the cloners actually had made their own clone troops to fight the Empire. They were squashed. This is all like outside lore stuff that's not in the movies. But I think everyone's pretty curious. Are those clones? They don't seem the same. They're nowhere near as good at shooting.
Right.
So yeah, he ends up using those clones for a while. And then I saw one thing that said he used clones from different sources, like a variety. And then I saw another thing that said he just started hiring humans after he stopped using the clones or something. So
I was gonna say, when you watch the Han Solo movie, they're like enlisting people for the Empire.
yeah, well, that's one thing I didn't get though, where I kind of thought differently, because Han Solo was part of the army, but he was like in a gray suit and stuff. Like he wasn't a stormtrooper, you know.
No.
So I was like, okay, the stormtroopers are clones, and he's like the extra militia volunteer people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I recognize that the other Imperials on the Death Star or Star Destroyers, they were all different looking humans. But I was like, okay, well, all the Stormtroopers, that's how they get so many, is from the clones. But I guess that only lasted for a while, and then they got rid of the clones and then started using humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. This is all like on fandom sites and stuff. Though, like I said, Wikipedia.
Wikipedia is fairly reliable.
Yeah, a reliable source. Unlike Wikipedia,
Which is, I also consider a reliable source.
you do.
Oh yeah. I definitely do.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you just do that then, huh?
Yeah. It's like my go-to if I need a summary of something first. I wouldn't use it in a paper or anything, but
Yeah, I definitely don't use it.
If I need a general understanding of a concept, I go there first.
Would you use
Just
Wikipedia in a paper though?
I use it in every paper.
Okay, good. Just check.
No matter. Yeah. I always make some kind of Star Wars metaphor in any paper I write.
Yeah, you definitely need that, because I mean you could cite the movie, but then you really need that extra source, that the website.
Like you said, not everything's in the movie, so go to Wikipedia.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, okay, that's good to get that cleared up. But now let's address the thing that the stereotype is real. Stormtroopers cannot hit anything, except in like the first scene of the movie on Tantive 4, when they come in blasting and they do kill some rebel scum.
Oh yeah,
And-
when they're on the ship, you mean, right? Yeah, it's hard to tell if they can only hit non-main characters or if they just can't hit anyone at all. You know, I did see one thing though, that Darth Vader's his like personal group of soldiers, the Stormtroopers, are still clone troopers from the Clone Wars. The 501st is what they're called.
That's awesome. Is that from
Yes.
Battlefront 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Battlefront 2. It's
By the
also
way,
in
I
the
cracked
Clone
that out
Wars
after last episode.
show. Say what?
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. But
So maybe
I
that's why
just
those ones are
cracked out both Star Wars. My PS2, first of all, I got out. I had to really mess with it to get working again. But I put in Battlefront 2 first because that's the best game ever,
Mhm.
and then the first Battlefront because I think the maps on Battlefront 1 are better. Like each map itself is like way more detailed.
Oh yeah.
It's bigger. Yeah, I don't know. They're pretty cool.
I never played the first one. I only
Oh,
did
it's
the
Yeah, they got some different planets on it, but they don't have space battles.
or Jedi. Can't play as a Jedi in that one, right?
You can't play as Jedi in it, but it's pretty fun still. It's not as fun as Battlefront 2, but it's pretty fun. But I played both of them.
Nice.
Had a blast. But yeah, I was playing the 501st version where you it's the campaign mode.
Yeah, you go through the story part of the
God,
mission.
It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
So awesome.
And then it ends with them. It kind of ends like their own happy ending where they go to Hoth, if I'm right, and they
Yep.
that's when the movie Empire Strikes Back, because the Emperor starts to kick butt and win again, and they crush the rebellion at Hoth and
Yep.
make them run away. So it ends with that ending, because that's like the last time the 501st, I guess, do anything.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that he has his own like personal group. I wish that was something they had in the movies, at least in like episode 3 or something was mentioned how he has his own like devoted group of clone troopers and stuff. Yeah, but that I like that there's a reason, you know, why the clone troopers are, you know, better shots than stormtroopers, because clone troopers were able to kill Jedi. Stormtroopers can't kill a farm boy who's holding a blaster in a battle situation for the first time. You know, that's one thing people talk about with the new trilogy is how overpowered Rey is in the first one. And even I kind of saw that argument. I thought it was okay. I thought it was within reason for her having the Force and stuff. The Last Jedi, though, made no sense how she got so powerful.
Right.
You know, because Luke had to go through training. But in the first one, Star Wars A New Hope, Luke does kind of Rey everyone, you know, in the sense that he was a dirt farmer that went to space and started killing stormtroopers on the Death Star and then rescues a princess. He was a dirt farmer before. You know, he says he shot like rats or something with a gun, but that's not the same as killing a man.
By the way,
and he blows up the Death Star.
The scene in A New Hope where there's just they're going down the hall and then all of a sudden they're around the corner, there's a bunch of stormtroopers, and Han Solo just immediately shoots one and then chases them down the hall, and they all are just like panic and run away. What do you think about that? I think that's silly.
Yeah,
because that kind of happened in the Civil War at the Battle of Gettysburg. The story of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. They were defending, forget the name of the hill right now, but they had the high ground first of all, so it's not exactly the same. But the Confederates were trying to get up the hill, and Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain and the Union were at the top, and the Union ran out of ammo. So all they had was to put their bayonets on their guns. And they were running out of men. They didn't have many men, and they were just going to charge down the hill because that's the only thing they had left. The Confederates way outnumbered them at the time. Yeah, trying to get up that hill. They start charging down the hill, screaming, and the Confederates assume that they are way outnumbered. That like the Union's doing this because they're confident that they're gonna
crush them,
and so the Confederate retreats.
Nice.
So maybe not. It's way out of the realm of possibilities.
That's great. I love learning a little history that can justify a movie or something.
I don't know if that's where George Lucas got that from, but
I don't know if that inspired. That probably did.
Great story, great Civil War story though.
There is a lot of things that you know people think are kind of ridiculous when you see it in a movie, and they're like, that wouldn't happen. But then you hear about some real life things that are like so ridiculous. You're like, is this just being written down by like a kid in his kindergarten class for this guy? Because it's ridiculous. Right. There's this one movie. What's it called? It's called like Saw Hill or something. It's a World War II movie, I think, or is it Vietnam? I think it's World War II. I don't know. It might be Vietnam. I don't know. But in this movie, though, the Andrew Garfield, he's this soldier that doesn't want to pick up a gun. And then they're at this hill during his battle, and like they all just get wiped out. And he goes around saving them without a gun or anything. He doesn't shoot anyone, and he gets all these guys off this hill and down to the rest of the American army by himself. And it's so crazy when you're watching. You're just like, wow, this is so inspiring and awesome. But then they talk in the special features for it that Mel Gibson had to cut some of the really crazy things that actually happened because he thought no one would believe the rest of the movie. Like this guy in real life, the movie that it's inspired from is this guy. And at one point, he got shot and it like grazed his head or something. So he was being carried off finally from the battlefield on a stretcher. And then he saw someone else who was injured jumps off, carries the guy, puts him on the stretcher, and then keeps going around looking for guys. And it's they're like, if we would have had that in the movie, it would just seem ridiculous at that point. But it really happened. It's a crazy thing. And so, I mean, yeah, it's crazy when you see like something in Star Wars. You're like, oh, Han Solo's chasing after all the stormtroopers, and they just ran away. But then, what'd you say? The Battle of Gettysburg?
Yeah, the Battle of Gettysburg.
Union Army just running down.
Lawrence Chamberlain. Yep,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just like the element of surprise, and like if you just like react and like just start sprinting at them, you know what I mean? Like, what's the reaction going to be?
Well, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do to a bear too, or some bear, not a black bear. I think grizzly bear. There's one bear where you're supposed. No, maybe it is a black bear. You don't want to lay down or run away because they don't eat you. You want to get real big and run at it. Anyone listening and you're in a bear situation right now, don't rely on my information.
Yeah.
Do not rely on my information. Just, do what's best.
Do what you need to do.
Do what you feel like.
Yeah, it depends.
It really
depends on the situation, and do you in that situation.
It might even be best to befriend the bear. And
nobody ever talks about befriending the bear.
Has anyone tried proposing marriage to the bear?
Listen, nobody who survived, have I heard, talked about befriending the bear.
No one has tried befriending, proposing marriage, or even a contract where you exchange land for offspring. There's nothing like that. I mean, and I think that's what really Star Wars is all about, though, is
trading land for offspring.
Bears, is land exchange for bears.
Talking about Ewoks now?
And I think that's what we all get back to is the Ewoks. You can't really get away from them.
Okay, let's just break down the Ewoks for a second.
Okay. Terrible.
Can you get through this?
I'll try.
Okay.
I'll try.
Okay, so the Ewoks straight up come in and just whoop some ass, man.
Oh,
they come in and they take
Ewoks
a bunch of rocks. Oh, do you need me to explain what an Ewok is?
Please explain Ewoks to people so that they don't think there's bears that are beating
They're little
that would
bears.
make sense.
They're little teddy bears are what they are. They're like tribal. Bears. They're like I don't know, like what, 4 feet tall, and they're like little. They look like teddy bears, but they're like tribal. So like they use bow and arrow and things like that, and they try to cook the humans. They try Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. They try to cook them up, and they're gonna eat them.
So they're vicious cannibal.
Well, they're not cannibals. They're not.
Oh, they probably eat each other too.
Oh,
we just don't get
cannibals.
To see that.
Yeah.
But these aren't very menacing creatures, though.
No, they're little cute things.
They're not.
They have rocks on the end of their spears that are sharpened. That's what they got. Very primitive compared to everybody else's laser guns and full stormtrooper body armor, full body armor. And these little bears are just chucking rocks at these stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers are just like getting knocked down left and right.
They are helpless to the merciless assault from these teddy bears.
And they did not die from cuteness.
Oh my gosh.
They did not die from cuteness overload.
I thought this was ridiculous when I was a kid. I thought it was so... And first off, too, when I was a kid, I thought they were creepy. Too, the Ewoks. I never thought they were cute. Yeah. Did you ever think they were cute? You can be honest and say that they were cute. I just want to know.
No, they're not that cute. Their faces aren't cute.
They scare me.
They're kind of...
I first saw it.
Little furry bodies are kind of cute. They're kind of cute.
They are kind of cute. Not going to deny that. But I thought they were kind of creepy when I first saw them.
Yeah, but you're also scared of a lot of things, Steve.
Yeah. But I mean...
We're going to get you to watch some scary movies here.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that, too.
And we're going to review them.
We'll have some scary movies. I cannot sit. So, like I said, even know that Vader's going to jump out at Luke in Empire Strikes Back. But then when he does, I still jump a little bit still. Just, I'm very easy to jump scare, I guess is the term too. But I'm also just generally scared of creepy things and tension in general.
Steve and I went to the movie theater, and you know, it was really fun to watch him freak out sitting next to me. And I'll tell you what, I'm never going to take him to see The Lion King again. It was The Lion King, wasn't it?
Let's clear this up. It was the live action remake of the. It wasn't the cartoon, okay?
It was the live action remake.
It looked very real.
You jumped like crazy. And I just look over, and your hands over your heart, and you're breathing heavily.
Oh my gosh. I get too invested in it or something, I guess.
I don't know.
But there was some part in that, and I jumped. Anyway, Ewoks, they're terrible. And they beat the army that is ruling the galaxy. That's ruling other planets that have laser guns and tanks, you know, spaceships. These guys have to police all these rebels, and then the cute bears with rocks and sticks wipe out. And the Emperor even says, "I'm sending a legion of my best men to defeat your friends. You will find that the shields will be quite operational. This battle station." So he sends his best men, the best ones, and Ewoks kill them. Even when I was a kid, I was like, how does their armor not protect them from the rocks? And then they were like, well, we don't know, Steve. George Lucas didn't care about that.
That's what the Star Wars people told you?
Yeah.
No, but I see he gets on, one sneaks up and gets on the speeder and goes away and distracts him. I buy that. I
can buy that.
But yeah, starting to throw rocks, like, yeah, it might slow him down. It might make him like, boom, you know. And if they were on top of like the trees and dropping them down and nailing them, then maybe then too, you know.
It would still hurt, but
because think about throwing a big
stormtrooper, I get hit by a rock. Okay, that sucks. But then I know something's coming from the top of me. I'm gonna maneuver. I'm just gonna start shooting up at them, and I would probably hit one. Think about
like the stories where somebody, like kids, are throwing rocks off of an overpass, and there's like another highway. Like that's super dangerous.
Yes.
If you throw a big enough rock, it definitely could kill somebody. Go right through someone's windshield. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I guess if they were from a high enough height and throwing them, but they kind of weren't. They kind of just throwing them from the side, and
they were like throwing the rocks with like the old like wooden like, and just like kind of hitting them, and then
there's no way that they should have won that.
Oh my gosh! You know what?
Even
if
what they
should have done,
stormtroopers got injured.
Say what?
Even if a few stormtroopers got injured,
they shouldn't have lost that fight. I mean, they had to rule the galaxy, and then this forest moon with these teddy bears beats them. I just can't get over it. And anyone who is a prequel hater because they think Jar Jar Binks, ruined their childhood or ruined the movies for them. I mean, how are you able to live through Ewoks in your original trilogy? How are you able to do that, man? You know what they should have done with that is just had more Wookiees, and then they could have still played on the cuteness. They could have maybe had some baby Wookiees, if they wanted to like sell toys.
They weren't on Kashyyyk, so
they should have went to Kashyyyk. By the way,
most of the Wookiees are dead at that point.
They should have went to Kashyyyk then, and like the last band of Wookiees or something, and then that would have been 10 times better. And then we could have had a little, Chewbacca reunites with family moment or something. Oh,
I loved when Chewbacca met the other Wookiees in Han Solo.
Yeah, great scene. And they just start spiking stormtroopers like footballs. And then
Chewbacca had a great outing in Solo.
Yes. Chewbacca's been, that's one thing too that has been, except The Last Jedi, Chewbacca has been pretty consistently good. He was kicking butt
Chewie
in
got
Force
the
Awakens.
shaft in Last Jedi.
He got the shaft. Chewie, where's Han?
That's it. Luke does not want to see Chewie at all. Oh,
They were all buddies too. They were all hugging at the
Buddies.
end. They posed for their family picture at the end of Return of the Jedi. He would have cared. Anyway, it would have made more sense for Wookiees.
Maybe it was
to
Luke
be-
at the end of Episode 4 who was like, "Yeah, just don't give Chewie a medal." Yeah,
That is one thing. That is one thing too. Is he got snubbed with a medal? He went up front with everyone,
Yeah.
but they couldn't give a medal.
maybe that's why he screams at the end. It's just,
Ah!
what's he saying?
I
It's
knew.
unfair.
I saw that video before, so I remembered that he does that. So I was ready when the first one came, and I just kind of chuckled. But then I was watching it and just thinking about the video and I was just thinking about how music isn't, what it would be like if music wasn't in movies. And then he does that second scream, when he turns around, and I just died laughing.
That video where they take the music out reminded me of going to church. Really, that's what it was like. Like
Yeah?
when everyone's going up to communion, yeah, and it's silent. And
Oh yeah.
you just hear it every now and then. Someone sneezes.
They'd play music at our church. There was an organ and everything. They're just
Oh, that's
quiet
true. That's true. It's true.
during your communion.
I've been to somewhere they're just quiet. There's no music.
Yeah, there's definitely some that are quiet.
Back when Alfred was praying and
Oh yeah, you go to any good
King
Saxon
Alfred.
church.
Yeah, good old fashioned Saxon church
It's
with Alfred and what's her name? Ellsworth.
Ethelrend.
Judith from Vikings.
Judith.
Ugh.
What would you hate more, Judith or Ewoks? What do you hate more?
I should be asking. I never said I hated either, but
Ask
what
me
do-
then.
What do you hate more?
Judith.
Yeah.
Judith. Any day of the week.
Maybe if only Ewoks were around when Judith
Oh.
existed.
Gosh, if some Ewoks could have been around,
They could have thrown some rocks at her.
could have easily beat her. Judith
Maybe
from
smash her with
the
two
Vikings.
giant logs.
Judith's just walking by and the Ewoks have the trap set up for her like she's a walker. Just crunch.
I'm just thinking now of the laughing video
The laughing video?
with Jeff Goldblum and Voldemort comes into it.
Yeah, with what's his name? The
This guy's name.
the guy with the Lando, when Lando in The Last Jedi, the guy with the face folds, Chubub or something,
Something like that.
Chububba Wubba, the thumping. We don't know, but there's a video too. Maybe I'll post this. Otherwise, you might have to look it up, where him and Jeff Goldblum are in the Millennium Falcon, just laughing with their very weird laughs, and it's hilarious. There's a point where they pause and they just
Show that
kind
to
of.
Ani.
You showed it to Ani?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
She just thought it was weird.
My girlfriends just don't get our humor, man. They just don't. That's why we needed this podcast.
It's so funny when they're both looking at each other and they want to start laughing again. And then Voldemort comes in and he's just stopped. Everybody stops laughing. And Voldemort gets really pissed.
Another thing that I need to talk about that's kind of bugs me from the original trilogy that I don't feel like it's spoken enough about is at the end of Empire Strikes Back, when Lando is with Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon, and he's wearing Han Solo's clothes. Why is he doing that? Why is he wearing Han Solo's clothes? He's wearing his vest, his shirt, everything. And
I know.
Chewie's just okay with that, I guess. You know what I mean? Lando wears like capes and stuff. And he's like, I think I'll just
Listen,
Dresses the guy
listen,
that I got
Han wouldn't mind.
captured.
Han's frozen in carbonite right now. He wouldn't mind, right?
He wouldn't mind if I just was
Put on
him
his
now.
vest.
It's like one of those horror movies where the person starts wearing like there's like so many of those like couples movies where the other woman, the mistress, starts wearing like the wife's clothes or something and starts acting like her. There's not a lot of movies, but I've seen some trailers for them. Beyonce's in one of them. I think it's called The Other Woman.
You say they're scary movies?
I don't know. They're
Well,
not movies.
Scary
I've
movies
watched.
for you is different than scary movies for me.
Yeah. So
For me, scary movies are like The Conjuring,
Those are horrific movies.
Insidious, Sinister. You know,
those
for
are
you,
yes, those-
scary movies are, like I said, The Lion King, all those ones. Beauty and the Beast.
I think one of the
Beauty and the
movies
Beast is they got the Beast. You can be scary.
you can be a little scary. One of the movies I thought was kind of scary that I don't think you thought was quite scary was the one with McAvoy has like 30 personalities up his butt.
Oh, Split. Oh yeah, but that's supposed to be kind of scary.
Okay, I thought it was scary, and Josh was like, "It's not scary."
Yeah, well, it is. It's supposed to be scary. It's not the scariest movie I've ever seen, but it's creepy. It's
I
meant to
think
be a
it's
thriller.
scary. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like scary movies, and that's why I like movies like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. Even Lord of the Rings can be kind of creepy. I was
Yeah.
scared all the time when I was watching Lord of the Rings when I was a kid. Anytime Smeagol was on, or the orcs were
Oh, the orcs
saying
are so
creepy things, like
Oh, yeah.
"I'll start with your face and eat it," or something like that. You know, those were always scary.
You know what scene creeped me out in Lord of the Rings was when Frodo gets wrapped up in the spider
Oh,
web.
that just
And he gets like completely wrapped into a cocoon.
oh my god, it's such a weird, creepy scene because he's just like a hunk of meat for this. Like I've never seen anything else. And then, but it just like wraps him up and just spins him up, and the way it handles him, it's like a creepiest thing. I'm getting some like weird chills and stuff now thinking about it.
Let's keep talking about it.
No,
Yeah.
let's go back to Star Wars. One thing we talked about in our last episode was our favorite lightsaber fights, and we were able to name a few. We were to name 5, and this one, there is only 3 actual lightsaber duels. Luke does use a lightsaber in the beginning of Return of the Jedi when he's fighting off Jabba the Hutt's gang, but he's not fighting anyone with a lightsaber. There's only Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader, and then Luke versus Darth Vader times 2. So there's only 3.
Yeah.
And those were always my favorite scenes back before I started liking the original trilogy more, was the lightsaber scenes.
Oh yeah.
And then, prequels blew those out of the water. But which one's your favorite, though, from those 3?
Probably Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back? Luke versus Vader?
Mm.
I think that's a pretty good one. I like how at the beginning, Vader's kind of toying with him.
Yeah.
And you can tell every now and then he'll kind of push it, but then he's kind of like talking to Luke. He's trying to get him into the pit. And then the part I was talking about where he like lunges out Luke after Luke got like sucked out of the window. When he just lunges out at him, and that's when he's going 100%. That's when he's going full Anakin Skywalker on a noob right there.
Yes.
And he's just got him backpedaling. He's swinging. He's busting the railing on that dangerous outlook post on the middle of that giant hole.
Yeah.
He's got him on the back foot and just bam, bam. I think Luke nails him once in the arm, and then Vader's got him, cuts off his hand. Great fight. But
What's yours?
probably my favorite, though, is actually Luke from Return of the Jedi versus Vader. One of the reasons is the music after Darth Vader says, maybe if you won't turn to the dark side, your sister will, or she will. You know, he's talking about, you know, turning Leia to the dark side. Mm-hmm. And Luke goes, never! And he jumps out.
That's an awesome.
Yeah. And then the music just starts getting ominous because now it's potentially dark side Luke that could come out. Because the Emperor's sitting there, he's trying to get him to the dark side. Luke's always kind of had some anger in him, but now he has enough force in him that he has the potential to be, you know, the next apprentice. And there's so many parallels to the scene with Anakin and Dooku from Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
And so, like, it has that going for it. But I like that they're both sort of at their peak. Luke and Vader are both very good fighters at this point, even though it's not a very technical fight like the other movies, the prequels. It's still a good fight, I think. There's a lot of like flips from Luke, and even he's kind of not going full force against Vader at different points. He doesn't want to fight him because of the light side. He wants to turn him. But then when he yells "never" and he starts charging at Vader, this music starts playing. It's this real ominous, like ooh, like this spooky, haunting, like dark side music. It's awesome. And then he goes full Anakin on him and gets him on the rails. He's smacking at the rails, and ends up cutting off his arm. And he sees he's got a robot hand like him, and he throws down his lightsaber and he says no to the dark side. And there's so many parallels to the scene with Dooku and Anakin when they're fighting in Episode 3 at the beginning. Same thing. The Emperor, Darth Sidious, is watching his next potential pupil, and he's trying to see who's going to win out and who's going to be his next student. And in Revenge of the Sith, we all know what happens. You know, Anakin ends up going to the dark side at the end, but I think it's a real testament to the difference between Anakin and Luke, because Anakin, he ends up beating Dooku, Palpatine's apprentice, even though the characters don't know that in the movie at the time. He cuts off his hands. He has him at his mercy. He could kill him, and Palpatine tells him to do it, and without really any more hesitation, he cuts off his head, and it's freaking awesome. It just shows, you know.
Yeah, he's like
the difference between.
He's like, I shouldn't. He's like, I shouldn't.
I shouldn't. Do it.
And then boom.
And just great kill, by the way.
Yeah. And that's where Luke
could have done
the same thing. Tried to do the same thing with him.
Palpatine comes down. He's like, good. I don't know if he says to kill him or to finish him off or anything, but it's obviously implied that he wants him to let his anger out. But Luke just throws his lightsaber away. And then he didn't read his history and find out.
Yeah, he didn't do his homework on Palpatine.
Big old Palpatine's got some freaking lightning.
Yeah, he's got some sparkling fingertips and
He's got those sparkle hands.
Mm-hmm. And he used them.
Oh, he got the full wrath of the sparkle hands.
Oh, I do love that scene.
And then the Emperor just starts thinking of every cool, evil dialogue that he can say. You will now face the full power of the dark side. Something, dark side.
You will die.
You will pay for your lack of vision.
Oh, man. It's amazing.
Ian McDiarmid kills it as Darth Sidious. I don't know what he's going to be in this new movie, Rise of Skywalker, but he'll definitely bring it, even if they put him in a bad situation with the character. He'll definitely bring it.
Yeah. It'd be awesome.
So that's why that one's my favorite, though. I mean,
I agree. I think
as a standalone, it's pretty good, but then when you compare it to the whole Star Wars saga,
yeah, that's a good point.
so reminiscent and really calls back, and
Yeah,
it kind of makes you wonder if George Lucas had that thought of the whole time or what, you know what I mean? Because he does mention he did plan a whole sort of backstory to everyone, and he says one of the reasons he actually went back though and made the prequels is because Darth Vader, who he wanted this to be a real tragic character, really just appeared to be this menacing bad guy pretty much until the end. So that's why he went back, and that's why he wanted to do the prequels. So
if you watch the prequels, you see who he was.
Exactly, and you feel bad for him.
It was filled with hope, and then he just was angered by the death of his mother, and then everything that was going on with the Jedi, and then.
And that's why I think it's really important to see both trilogies, because then when you're seeing Vader be this badass and everything, but then you see him when he's in like his little ball where his helmet's off, or at the end there, and you see him like you can see that his head's all burned up and stuff, and you're just like, man,
I think Darth Vader's like
you've had a lot of stuff happen to you, and it's physically represented too.
Coolest bad guys ever in history. In the history of almost anything that's been made. But you're right. When you give him the prequels, you give him a cool backstory. I mean, just adds so much texture to. Then you watch the originals again. It gives you a whole different perspective of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would definitely, if you aren't into Star Wars, I would start with these. Or if you're wondering how you get your girlfriend or other, if you're a girl and you're trying to get your boyfriend, or whoever.
My recommendation is, and I just did this tactic and it worked. So if you're trying to get your girlfriend into it, or the vice versa, start showing them pictures and memes of Baby Yoda. That's what worked for me. You don't have to show them the Mandalorian, but start showing Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda. All of a sudden, be like, "You want to start watching Star Wars?" And then dive right in.
Get them with some cute Baby Yoda from Mandalorian. If you have Disney Plus,
I don't think it's really Yoda.
Oh no, it's not Yoda.
Be. No, it's not.
I don't think anyone means,
unless they're trying. I don't know if he means it, but unless they're trying to do a weird like.
It better not be Yoda.
Which would make me kind of mad.
I'd be very mad if it was Yoda.
But everybody's calling it Baby Yoda. I just wonder if they knew everybody was going to call it Baby Yoda.
I don't think
it's supposed to be just the child.
Yeah, they call it the child is like the character's name.
Because everybody thinks so. Yeah, a lot of people who don't know Star Wars thinks that this happened before, like the other events now.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the trouble with jumping around with the timeline, because now Mandalorian is before this new trilogy, but after the old trilogy, which was released before the prequel trilogy and the sequel.
I know it.
I sometimes feel like I have to set up like this diagram to explain it to someone. When I first got my brothers into it, and they were young, I had the DVDs. They were the first movie that I bought with my own money for myself, and I laid them out like each case in order so that they could see like what each one was. And I was like, I think I might have to do this with Taylor, because I mean it's not her fault, because I'm so invested in it. It's easy for me to follow which one comes out, and then I read about it and I'm like, all right, this is where it's at in the timeline. I know exactly what that is, and then someone like her, it's like, okay, so Darth Vader does what in this? No. He's dead now. He's dead in this one. But the one we just saw, he was alive. I know. Crap.
Oh god.
I mean, it would be very hard.
So this is what I'm doing with my girlfriend. We're gonna go. We've done 4, 5, 6. We're just gonna go right into 7, 8. I don't see any reason why not. Right?
No. But then, are you gonna get her into the prequels though, too?
Yes. I just think I want to watch 7 and 8 again before I go see 9.
Same. I'm gonna try and fit them in here these next couple of days. So I was thinking that obviously we had talked about our next episode is going to be after Christmas, after we digest the next movie. So we're gonna have a little week break. I'm not sure when all these videos and podcasts of ours are gonna be put out there, but if you're listening through and you catch up and you're wondering when our next one is going to be, it's probably going to be the week after Christmas. That way we can digest, and that next episode's probably going to be kind of a review on that movie as well as just a discussion on the sequel trilogy as a whole.
Yeah.
And so it might feel a little bit different than these ones, but
we'll probably rate the movie.
Probably rate it a little bit more
to some of the Rotten Tomato scores and other scores that are out there, and just see how our rating compares.
Yeah,
we like to do that.
Exactly. But otherwise, I think everyone out there knows that we love all these movies, and you should watch them. And I don't know, is there anything else you can think of to add, Colby?
Yeah, absolutely. Alexander Draymond. We need you. We need you to come on, and we got questions for you. We want to talk to you, see how you're doing. So you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, anytime. Even if you don't want to talk about The Last Kingdom, if you're tired of everyone interviewing you about The Last Kingdom, just come
Star
on
Wars?
and we'll watch a movie together. And I'll watch a scary movie for you if you want. Yeah. But don't make me. Kind of ask me. And
we'll watch anything you want, Alexander Draymond.
We'll do whatever you want. We could just get on the podcast and talk about it. We can just do some screen chronicling together.
Yes.
But yeah,
we're gonna get Alexander Draymond on this.
Oh, he'll want to be on here. I'm sure. Once we start covering The Last Kingdom,
then he's gonna get us on The Last Kingdom.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I can't wait. We'll be in season 5 for sure.
We're definitely gonna be in season 5. I hope there's a season 5.
Oh yeah. What character are you gonna be on there?
I definitely want to be in his gang. I want to be somebody in his gang.
I'd love to be in his gang. I also wouldn't mind being like this crazy naked Viking that he kills.
A naked Viking?
Oh yeah. Just like talking to myself when I come out of the river and
bathing in the river.
And I try and fool him with this long story, and he just dispatches me very quickly. Yeah. Kind of like an Ewok would to a Stormtrooper.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
But anyway, it was a pretty good episode. We got Alexander Draymond. I think we covered all of our thoughts. Anything else you can think of?
Do we already ask if Alexander Draymond wants to be on the show?
I don't know. I was looking at pictures of Carrie Fisher from Return of the Jedi. In a non-objective way, though. Yes. In a very way that would respects her. Right. We do love you, Carrie Fisher. We know the Force, you're with us with the Force here.
Rest in peace.
Amen. All right.
I am interested, by the way, to see what her role is going to be in the new movie.
I am too. It's
because I guess they're taking footage that they had in episode 7 that they didn't use.
I really wonder what they're going to do. I said this because I was frustrated with how they killed off Harrison Ford's character, and Mark Hamill's character, Han and Luke, respectively, when they're both still alive, and Carrie Fisher, who died, her character's still alive in the show, and it's just like it's really tough to go that way, but I obviously wanted to see the original trilogy and Chewbacca, all get back together. Meaning Han, Luke, Leia, all together in a scene where I know they're old, but it would have been great to just see them kick butt, to see Leia using the Force, maybe a lightsaber, maybe just using a blaster, using the Force, and just the three of them and Chewie too, just rampaging through some stormtroopers, But I'm really disappointed that that's not going to happen. Obviously, they don't have enough footage to make any crazy Force scene with her. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
The only real Force scene we got to see with her was what you call the Mary Poppins scene of her in space. I still thought that was all right, but I wanted to see something a little more Jedi, especially with her and Luke. I think that would have been perfect.
That'd been cool. Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to get that. You know, one, because she's passed away, and then two, because the characters of Luke and Han are killed off in the movie. There's no way we can get that now. So, you know, it's disappointing, but I'll always have the ending of Return of the Jedi when they're all together there, and it's happy. And if this next one's bad, I'm just gonna veto these movies and say they don't count. They don't count. And then Mandalorian will be the last thing that I can remember from the Star Wars lore.
And then Kenobi.
And Kenobi will be before.
Wait. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, like in the timeline of things, I'll be like, right. Oh yeah, the Resistance never took over.
Right.
Unless that happens in the Mandalorian.
There's just some straggling Empire guys that we're trying to keep going.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, good episode.
Yes. Until next time, we're Steve and Colby, and we are the
Screen Chroniclers.
The Screen Chroniclers, or
Screen Chroniclers.
Is that what we are?
No, we're not that. But this is the Screen Chronicles with Steve and Colby. Yes. And we thank you for listening today. Well, you can find us by the time this video is up on whatever podcast app you want to use. We're going to have our videos up on YouTube so you can see our beautiful faces. And
follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
We're going to have a Twitter too?
All that. Well, might as well.
Okay, cool. And Twitter. Okay. All right. And, you know, all of our Uhtred son of Uhtred's out there, have a good day.
Yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye.